Hello, everyone. This is Ted Schmidt from Action Coach Northwest, and welcome to our Business Spotlight podcast. Today, our guest is Tim Mitrovich from 10 Capital Wealth Advisors. They are over $1 billion wealth management company located with locations here in Spokane and also in Seattle. So thank you, Tim, for joining us today, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's great to get to know you a little bit better. And we've got some questions to kind of go through today to kind of help maybe your ability to give some insights to other business owners and help other business owners that maybe have struggled with some of your challenges and some of the things you've been doing, and also get some advice from you. So very
Sure.
successful company, obviously, and we really appreciate you being here. So we're going to jump right in. So first question is, if you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
Um, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind, Ted, is really understanding the difference between leadership and management. I think I didn't understand all the nuances and that difference. And what I mean by that is, I think, or at least I'm told, that somebody who's got some unique visions and approaches to doing what it is that we do, and at the same time, you can inspire people to do something, but then really understanding, making sure A, you understand it, but then B, know how to coach it, can implement that at a team level and help them understand what steps might be required to go from place A to place B. I think was something underestimated. So yeah, I wish I would have given that a little bit more thought. I probably would have saved both myself and some of my colleagues some struggles of really differentiating between those two things. And again, that's something I've had to keep in mind throughout my tenure. I mean, there is what we do, and then there is the business that facilitates what we do. And much like that dynamic between leadership and management, what you do and the running of a company can certainly be interrelated, of course, but there's some aspects that are very, very different and need to be viewed as such.
Wow, great answer. That's good insight. Really good insight. So,
Thank you.
okay, next question. We're going to keep rolling here. What have your biggest learnings been as an employer since you began in business?
I think it's probably just being an employer. So, I mean, and by that, I mean, how are you going to identify, the colleagues and the staff, vendors, and while I've never been someone in my life to take shortcuts, I think things that are shortcut-esque can insidiously find their way into your thought processes. And that's something I'm constantly trying to root out is, growth for growth's sake, or taking on a colleague or a staff member with the idea that somehow you can change them. And that's led to a lot of skin knees and certainly bruised egos. And what's come out of that again is really finding people who day one share our passion for serving other people, including their colleagues, of course, clients, and who want to be great in and of themselves. I think, whether it's a learned thing, it's certainly been reinforced, which is you can't pay for passion. I think that's a common misconception. You can't pay or gloss over those shortcuts that I alluded to. People are who they are, and people who want to be great will be great regardless. If you don't take care of them, they'll leave. But it's very hard to take someone who isn't a person of passion or doesn't share your passion for what you're doing and convert them. Again, I think I probably would have guessed an answer to that before I had a business, but at the same time, being an employer, now I've got real world examples of, yeah, some areas where that didn't go well, whether those were partners, colleagues, staff members, employees, but plenty of cases. Case in point, most of the people I'm fortunate enough to surround myself with now, who are those types of people and who make me better, inspire me to want to continually improve and grow, and who again provide a daily joy of getting to watch them and how they interact with the people we're blessed to serve.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. That's interesting and so true. So very true. Okay. What are some common misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them?
Oof. There's a lot. Again, I think really I alluded to one already, which is really understanding what you do versus the platform that facilitates it. So we're a wealth management firm, we're financial advisors. That is completely different than running a now $1 billion plus wealth management company. And again, as I said, those are two very different things that need to be taken into account. I think one of the things that people reach out to us in the industry or clients who reach out like, well, how do you grow like we've grown? I mean, it's objective and out there, and all the filings we have to put out every year, that we've grown at an exceptional rate for over a decade now. And here again, I think what we've done from day one is take the mindset that the best, most sustainable, not the quickest path to growth will be taking the best possible care we have of those people who've already decided to work with us and letting them advocate on our behalf or spread a word of mouth. And that takes a minute. There was certainly, when we started, a lot of people who said, I like you, I like your story, I like your approach, but you're new. And of course I would say, well, I've been in the industry for a long time. It's just a new entity, but there's a lot of wait and see, right? Particularly when it comes to people's money. But what happened, we didn't take any shortcuts. We really paid our dues. We put the time in, and so a lot of the growth that's been talked about, written about, even in the paper, was seeds that were planted, good choices that were made a decade ago that now are bearing fruit because again, that reputation that any of us have is the most important thing we have as business owners. And we see time and time again, sadly, people who take that for granted. There's the obvious ways, but again, kind of like those shortcuts, things can come in kind of small ways that, again, they stack up, or they can become much bigger than you thought they were. And so again, just really being diligent about always erring on the side of what's best for the client, what's best for the business, what's best for your colleagues, is certainly one of those things that, again, we've just continued to be reinforced how important that is.
You kind of stole the thunder out of the next question here. The next
Maybe a little
question,
bit. Yeah.
Next question is, what do you attribute your growth to? Is there anything you would like to add to that? You pretty much answered that, I think, but anything
to
that
a
comes to
degree, I
mind?
think I would answer. I think is another important part to it, though. I mean, one is, of course, just doing a good job, but I think the other thing is, again, really asking yourself how you do what you do. Is it truly different or differentiated? Is it sufficient? I mean, there's a lot of different answers to that. When we founded the firm, I came from a small town. Didn't come from any kind of significant needs. I didn't know financial advisors were a thing until I got into college. But and this is probably its own message. What was, by all accounts, a weakness. I had no network. We didn't have rich family and friends that I could call to help launch a wealth management business.
Yeah.
Became the strength because it forced me to look at things in new and innovative ways. And about the time I started the firm, I read Malcolm Gladwell's David and Goliath. And of course, one of the things in that book, the advantage that the David can have is you can be more nimble, you can be more innovative, and you can work harder. And so, what are those controllables that you have? And we coupled that with, again, this is just true for our industry, but probably has applications elsewhere, which is people say, we don't feel heard. Whoever we're working with might be pleasant enough, but sometimes comes off patronizing. We don't really understand what they're talking about. They're not answering the real questions that we have. And so much of what we've done, from events to client communications, has really been to address that root thing, like getting to know our clients, all sorts of different activities that we'll do with clients to break down, see them in different areas, have different stories come up that might come up in a typical review setting. And so we sought out to, again, work hard, to be innovative, to listen to what the clients needed, not what we thought they should be doing, which again was kind of that classic industry approach. And I think that's the growth. People say, hey, these guys are different. They actually are doing tangible things. It's not just the lip service of great client experience or service that people have. There are tangible parts of our process that we can point to, or even better, existing clients can point to other clients and say, hey, there's these formal steps that are in fact different, that made all the difference for us. So I think listening, for whatever your business is, are you really listening? And then are you communicating to people where they're at? That would be my last thing. Is for a long time, again, not with any kind of ill intent, clearly, I discussed in things that, again, subconsciously, I eventually called outward to maybe impress my peers. Those aren't my future clients, right? My future clients are people who want things broken down in very simple, relatable terms. And so we had to change a lot of our messaging and really call out again, we're constantly reflecting what are those subconscious things we're doing that are actually an impediment to meeting and or building the relationships with the potential clients we want to have. And I think that's probably true of any industry, where we get caught up in what we think our value proposition is, using terms that we think everybody understands, trying to be impressive instead of trying to be helpful. And when you can get out of your own way and really, again, truly keep the client in mind, it's easy to say, like, well, is that about a fair fee or this? A lot of times it's just how you're communicating with them that is something that's getting in your way. That's really where we saw our growth start to accelerate.
Excellent. Interesting. Okay. So let's shift gears here a little bit. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Hard. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot about this, some of which gets kind of depressing in terms of looking back at the end of your life to your life. But yeah, I mean, I think just keeping in mind, at any given point in time, how much I'd probably pay someday to come back to this very moment, and that I don't want to miss it. Giving myself a little bit of a pass on one. I've got 2 daughters, 8 and 6. Beautiful wife, love spending time with them, of course, other family and friends. Yeah, but I also want to set a great example for them, particularly my children I'm talking about, of having a good work ethic, serving other people. For me, having some success that I can share with the community, and those who maybe not as fortunate. And so I think that's one part. And then of late, I wouldn't claim to have always been great at it. Just some hard rules. Like I take my daughters to school at least 2 days a week, period. That's 20, 30 minutes that we get in the car. Some great conversations come out. And that's been sacrosanct. Doesn't really matter how busy I am or what's going on. I'll stay up late if I have to, or get up earlier. And that's usually had to be the case. But
that's a great idea.
Carving out those times to, coach a team, get the kids to school, be there for those special school activities. They're young, so there's little things like Valentine's parties and stuff that are pretty fun to be a part of. But yeah, I think the one thing I learned, and if any of us are honest, there's a lot of embracing humility that we have. The world will go on without us. It'll be okay. Or there's some other point in your day you can get something done. And that time's just never going to present itself. It's got to be seized and carved out and really held out as special.
Amen to that. Okay, let's talk about employees a little bit here. What qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
Yeah, I mean, we got great employees. Certainly have had situations where they didn't work out, although that was more about fit. So I think that's the biggest thing is, one of the biggest things in terms of looking for quality of employees is making sure they understand what qualities we have to offer as employers. And so we're very, very candid about, which is not to suggest we're ever dishonest, but of just like, what does it really look like? What are the benefits? At the end of the day, I sum it up in one word, which is just accountability. We want people who are going to be accountable. I'd say this is true in life. You meet those people who every bad thing that's ever happened to them was somebody else's fault. As I like to, talk to my team, my staff, clients, we're the common denominator of all of our experiences. So if you're having all these horrible experiences to you, we all have some bad luck. You might look in the mirror because you're the only thing that all those experiences have in common. It could just be who you choose to be with and surround yourself by. But yeah, accountability, owning up to mistakes, whether that's, we're not perfect. We've told clients, look, not a perfect firm, not going to be perfect, but we'll try to put forth a perfect effort. That is a controllable. And when we fail, and again, I think as a firm, we've done a nice job about this. When there have been those mistakes that have happened, we own it and then some. We don't just make them whole or make it right or apologize. We turn it from something that's been a negative into a positive, and can't think of any heinous mistakes that have happened, but things come up. And when we've taken that approach of owning it immediately and radically, clients appreciate it. In fact, I think it can be a real moment to strengthen things. So we want to see that type of mentality, in our employees. And then we try to get out of their way. If we've got to have some structures, of course, but we want people to be able to be adults. And so there's just, again, that maturity that I think comes with that accountability mindset of, look, if you got to go to the dentist or you got to stay a little late, like get it done, right? There are market hours we need to be aware of, but handle your business and we'll respect you. In terms of the work environment, I think just creating a place that, so much of what I've done, I assume there's at least somebody like me out in the world. And so it's, whether it's, now pretty nice office confines, lounges, a very nice gym in our office, the ability to create opportunities for people for professional development, both internally and externally, that accountability. If someone's mature enough and has that accountability mindset, then they want to grow. And so really making sure we're providing in both fun ways and of course, in very professional ways, that opportunity to grow.
Yeah, excellent. Environment, very important. Okay, well, just a couple questions left. We're rolling along here. So what question should I be asking you that I haven't?
Probably why I decided to be a business owner in the first place. When I talk to people considering it, whether considering this industry or considering other business opportunities, or asked from time to time to speak, local colleges. I think there are a lot of business owners, if they were honest, who do it as an ego stroke or to be able to brag about it or put their name on a door and I think that's where you see people struggle. They might make it, they might have some semblance of a career, but if you want to really do, I think, important work, meaningful work that people might remember when you're done, there's got to be a purpose that's driving you much bigger than that. And that was it for me. There was nothing wrong with where I was previously per se, but I had a very distinct vision of how I wanted to see wealth management done and client relationships and the type of community I really wanted to foster, both amongst my colleagues, clients, and then even who I wanted our firm to be within the communities in which we served. And I didn't see it out there. So as I've said, if it was my old firm or if it had been a different firm, I probably would have been happy to go be a part of that. Because again, if people are honest, being a business owner can be a pretty brutal, lonely journey. And if you're undertaking it for the wrong reasons, I think there's going to be a lot of points in time. That's where those temptations to do shortcuts or quit, I think, can come in. If you've got a distinct vision that, again, is very client centric or customer centric as to what you're going to do, then that's going to be that fuel that's going to not only keep you in it, but hopefully help you manifest that vision that you want to see become a reality.
Yeah, excellent. Vision, your why you do this. That's the driving force for a lot of people to start a business. Is they want to do it.
Yeah.
So Okay.
hating your boss or liking money or wanting your ego. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I've heard people go start a business. I just think you're going to run out of steam if that. And again, when you talk about earlier questions around growth, why should I work with you? Well, because I'm better than my old boss. I mean, that's not a very inspiring story, right? You want to hear a story that's something about how I'm going to help make your world a better place as a client or customer of my firm.
Yeah. Well, you've been very successful at it, obviously. So congratulations
Trying,
on that.
we're trying.
Okay, last question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And any words of advice for other business owners who are looking to grow their business?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it'll be hopefully in the same chair, God willing. But already we're adapting. I know when we went through a new partnership last year, some clients and colleagues, why it's going well, it's working, and I think there's got to be some recognition, and this would be, I guess, advice of its own, kind of like, things are always changing. You're changing, the world around you, the competitive landscape. And so my first retort was, look, we started doing things a certain way when we were 100 million. We're now over 1.2 billion. Things have changed. Like we need to
Yeah,
change with them. So
like
I think the one
tenfold or
thing I'd say
more.
about 5 years from now that's there is, one, just continually I may be here and around, but like I hope to find myself in the presence of even more great colleagues, continuing to empower them, to evolve my role into coach and mentor as much to my colleagues as my clients, fostering another generation coming up here in a few years on my 50th birthday. Young or old, it's all in the eye of the beholder. But again, I think understanding that, time's passing, and I've been in and around or seen plenty of organizations that want to try to deny that or suspend it or hold on too long. So I hope to play a role here at 10 Capital for a very long time. I'm very cognizant that role has got to change, that I've got to change, to help this company be the best it can be for those people who have entrusted their families to us. And I guess that's, yeah, to growth. I mean, first and foremost, just, goes without saying, but at the same time, it's unfortunately rare. Like, be ethical, be honest, hold yourself to the highest possible standards. To really continually reevaluate and be honest about what is your value proposition. Is it different? Is it special? Is it client centric? Is it understandable? And then trust. If a lot of people are so busy looking for their next client or customer that they fail to take care of the one that they've already been blessed to have. If you can, do your best to, again, keep that mindset on what you've got today, not only from a place of gratitude, but from a place of where you're spending your time and attention. I think that's going to lead to that next person you hope to meet.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Tim. Well, you sailed through that. That was well done. Thank you very much. Any last words for business owners out there, small business owners, somebody maybe starting a business or somebody that's struggling a little bit, or
Yeah, well, share stories. You asked that question. I think the one thing is hang in there. It's frequently I'll talk to people who want to talk about where the firm is today. There was a lot of scary days, days of anxiety, lots of failures, tons of rejection. And so I think one of the things that isn't shared, and this is probably as much life advice as it is business owner advice. I didn't, again, have a lot of people who I knew who had done what I was seeking to do. And so there were a lot of times where I didn't know how off base I might have been. You worry that your anxiety, your fears, the amount of rejection you're facing means you're on the wrong path. And there's a young person in our industry on the West Side. He reached out. I've been happy to chat with, and he said, I remember talking to you. We were having this very conversation. He's like, I just did a big prospecting event and no one showed up. And he's like, as bad as that felt immediately, I remember you telling me about some of your first endeavors and how bad of failures they were. And his words, which were just so kind for him to share, was, I must be on the same, I must be on the right track because Tim's gone down this very same path. And what I shared with him was that it took me a while to understand. I said, the reason you're going to be successful has nothing to do with how many people came to your event last night, has everything to do with the fact that you showed up. And so I think that's the missing thing for business owners, where you're looking at it, it's slow going, you go through a tough season, and you get very externally focused around what isn't happening that you hope to happen, what client isn't coming through the door. And what's critical, the difference between failure and success is not external, it's whether you keep showing up.
Great. Great advice. Thank you. Okay, Tim Mitrovich from 10 Capital Wealth Advisors. We thank you again. And that concludes our podcast for today. Have a great day, everybody.